YouTubes today, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
and Twitch, technically.
Okay.
The Twitchy Twitch.
Is Kristen putting it on the group?
I can tell her to.
Okay. Yeah, tell her to share it with the group. Oh. Oh.
Southern Cali.
My new co-host. Don't lose your head about it.
Okay.
Where's the party?
Feel so good. I feel so dead, girl. Living dead girl.
Okay, we are live on YouTube. Just wait for Kristen's confirmation.
Okay. Oh, supposed to pour that. Forgot to do it again.
Dope.
Yep, we're live.
You can do it
on
now.
YouTube. All
Yeah.
clear.
Okay. Run it.
The history of the Gallic lands is one of struggle, punctuated by moments of sheer brilliance.
Tartan is Scotland's gift to the world, and it is your personal heritage story. Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome to Kilts and Culture. I am Rocky. That's Eric. Yow! Today, special treats out the wazoo. Well, I don't know. Where
Language,
is
sir,
your, Where is
language.
your wazoo? Huh? It sounds like painful.
Cut.
Yeah. So, two things. One, special treat on whiskey. Two, special treat on the brand new crotch shot of Rocky. There you go. The brand new Grand Canyon Tartan. Gonna play the little commercial thing and talk about this one a little bit during the middle of the show. But until we get there, let's bring this out slowly. I still need to put this thing on wheels.
I really think you should,
Yeah.
hack
Okay.
something together.
So today we have Glenmorangie, the Nectar d'Or from our good buddy Dave Calvin, who I think actually ordered a Grand Canyon kilt.
Thank you, Dave.
Indeed, thank you, sir. So, Mac. Oh, by the way, we have Mac today.
Mac's back.
Yeah, Mac's back.
Back.
Mac came over too early, but that's fine.
Oh, well.
Oh, he's. I don't blame him. Yeah. And
He's
Q.
excited about. Yes, indeed, indeed. Here you go.
I want that shot without the whiskey bottle. I just like.
So, Mac, what tartan do you have on today?
I have on the Stort Old Weathered.
You got it done.
Yeah, I did.
Finally.
Look at that.
Did you get it done just for the show?
Maybe.
It's actually there's no pleats in the back. It's
Yeah.
just a piece of
It's
fabric.
just the front apron.
It's just safety pin.
It's material wrapped around himself.
How long
This
have
is
you had
all
that
fake.
in your stash?
Yes.
Uh huh.
Now that one's not been too bad. He's only
No.
had that one for 6 months to a year.
Oh, okay.
He has other tartan fabric that's older.
Oh, I know.
All right. Yes. So Eric, what do you have
I
on
was
today?
gonna say not that my ass, but I'm wearing Glendor.
Very good. And today I have on our brand new Grand Canyon tartan. Very good. Okay. So Mac, give me some nosing and tasting and smelling and snorting notes of the Glenmorangie.
So would you like the aromas? The aromas are saying is some peach syrup, some warm brioche, orange cake, fruit pastries, and ripe apricot. I guess depending where you're from.
I
So
get
what-
a lot of the fruit.
So what they're saying is it's fruity.
It's the fruitiest thing I
I
drink.
got it. I got it.
Yes. Okay.
I want to read the description in like a announcer voice,
Yes.
like a game show host voice.
Okay. Yeah, definitely get fruity.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers.
I think I snorted some up my nose. Oh, it's a bit burny.
So when the palate is drenched
on the nostril.
in baked fruit flavors with, again, apricot, orange jello, orange
What?
honey, and pepper.
It is Glen more orangey.
More orangey. It is
Yes.
more orangey.
The I definitely feel the apricot and a burn in my sinus cavities now. I'm gonna be crying for the rest of the show.
Glenmorangie. Feel the apricot.
Yeah. The a kick in the nostrils. Yeah, I definitely get the like apricot slash little bit of citrusy.
I think more
Notes.
in the like the peppery stays around for a good long, but as it tapers
Yeah.
off, I think that's where the jello orange jello flavor kind of comes in.
Jello. Just as long as they
I'll
don't have
agree.
Bill Cosby as their as their spokesman.
It's not pudding pops.
There's a peppery burn, and then the finish is more of a applewood, fruitwood kind of a.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. I 100%. You're leading the witness, but I
think
believe
that's
you.
where you're tasting that whatever the cask treatment was. So.
Yeah. All right. Water it down a little bit. See what happens.
Sir, yes, sir. What happens is there's more water in the glass. That's what happens.
Yeah. It really cut the pepper. Really cut the pepper. Tastes a lot more of the apricot and fruitness. Still get a little after it's down. Still get a little bit of
Oh, yeah.
residual pepper, and now I'm getting a little bit of like metallic taste on the sides of my mouth. A little bit.
Oh my God, you're right. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it really cut the pepper out of it.
Yeah.
Pepper's
it definitely,
gone.
Yeah,
It's
it cut the
completely
pepper,
gone.
but now I have metal. It's the most metal of oranges. Yeah. That's like, it's got like you're chewing on metal. It's that aftertaste. It's the, yeah, and the sides. I don't think I've ever had that from whiskey before.
It's odd.
It is.
I'm definitely
Maybe
and
maybe
now-
it's the nectar d'or. It's the gold.
Yeah. And when I'm getting more that slight applewood kind of a vibe, I'm getting more in the front
Well,
than
there-
it was in the finish before.
They're also saying the mouthfeel is baked pastries, flaked almond, brioche, cinnamon toast, bananas Foster's. Oh, I'm done now.
And other
And-
random words that have to do
And
with
creamy
food.
toffee.
Make up your freaking mind. Really? No,
I'll
all that
give
said,
'em-
I like this. I do like this.
I'll give them the creamy toffee a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of a creaminess to it. I can't get over the peppery metal.
Are they
It's like right on the sides of the tongue.
Yeah.
are they considering pepper with cinnamon in this situation? Like I'm not understanding.
I'm giving it a good wash.
All that said, I do like it.
Yeah, the pepper it sneaks up on you. It's not like you take a sip and it's just like bam kicking you in the tonsils. It's like I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you.
Come to get ya.
Yeah, without the water in that pepper was coming in
Yeah.
something fierce.
Yep, I got the metal again. It takes that 10 seconds, but I'm getting it.
Odd.
Yeah.
Very odd. Let me know in the comments. Have any of you had that same kind of reaction to this, where you get and it was only after we did the poured a touch of water, and it's not, it's filtered good water. It's not like it's just tap water or something weird. Have any of you out there gotten that metal taste on the sides? So let me know. All right, Mac, let's rate this. 1 to 10, get in there.
I'm gonna go 7-4.
Okay.
I like it, but there's still some questions.
If you have questions. Okay, 7-4. Eric.
I'll probably go like 7-1. I like it.
Okay. I'm weirdly stuck between like a 7.5 and a 4.8 because of that metal weirdness and the sneakiness of the pepper. So I'm gonna stick around. I'll say 5.4.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm not enjoying it because I'm worried I'm chewing on aluminum. So I don't know.
Tastes like rusty nails.
Yes. Do you like rusty nails? The drinks and the actual thing. All right.
It's definitely the cask finish that's doing that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's weird. All right. Boys and girls, as always, we are but your humble servants here. Good thing I have backup whiskey. We are but your humble servants here to answer whatever questions you have about kilts or culture-related stuff. So, load your comments down below. Eric, if you would, ask one of our pre-selected questions for the show.
And question of the day.
Indeed.
Matt Horn asked us, what is the difference between the Cadin 7046 tartan that is now on the tartan register, and the Culloden historical tartan that you guys are pre-selling right now. They look identical to me, but maybe there's a slightly different updated color shading or something. So is there a difference between the what's on the register versus what we're selling?
Yeah.
In terms of, if you didn't know, we've had the opportunity to pre-sell the historic reproduction Culloden tartan as done as the result of the research of Peter MacDonald.
Yes. We need the meme of Pam from The Office. You know, the corporate needs to tell you what's the difference between these two pictures. They're the same thing. They're the same thing. It's essentially the tartan register has it registered. I think we have an image of that Pat can pull up. Tartan register, Peter MacDonald actually had the Cadin Jacket. I think it was at Kelvin Grove Museum or something in Glasgow. And yep, there it is. And Peter actually went there and researched and actually did the thread count with the physical specimen in front of him and went through and made sure that the colors were accurately reflected, and then registered it as the Culloden 1746 original. So this is the original Culloden tartan from the jacket, as close as it could be for the register's purposes. Now, this is the tartan on screen now, or at least the mock-up from House of Edgar. They partnered with Peter MacDonald to come up with the most historically accurate version of the Culloden tartan. So essentially, it's one and the same thing. The mock-up that they have there is there are multiple shades that they're actually having custom dyed so that they can be historically accurate. And this is something that they're going to be doing. I think they're going to be finishing it and releasing it in early January or mid-January. So we're able to pre-sell this through them, with and take advantage of their work with Peter MacDonald and all that. It's kind of a funny story how it came to be. Was when the Glen Affric tartan was released a year or almost a year ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it was over a year
Technically, it was
ago.
2023.
Yes. Released over a year ago, and then in January they actually House of Edgar started weaving it. We immediately, had our marketing hats on and said, "Oh, this is selling really well. What else? What other historical tartans could we sell? Could we do? Is there a clamoring for that haven't been done properly?" And then we looked at it internally here, and we're like, "Oh, we should do a run of the Culloden tartan to make it as historically accurate as possible." So we went to Simon at House of Edgar, and we're like, "Hey, we have an idea. We want to do this thing." And he just kept kind of like pushing me off a little bit and pushing me off a little bit. And I was like, "Dude, I really want to do this thing. Why don't you want to do this thing?" He's like, "We're kind of already doing it with Peter MacDonald." So we had the same good idea at different times. But it's one of those where it's a really cool, historically accurate version of the tartan, as close as can be done. So I'm pleased that that Edgar's allowing us to pre-sell this and get in on the ground floor and help put this thing forward, because it's a really, really cool idea. I love it.
Yep.
Yes. So that's that.
Ta-da!
Yeah, indeed.
It's prompted by the fact that the previous versions of the Culloden tartan were really based on just visual observation and guesswork as to how the colors would have looked originally before weathering.
Who was the gent? The Stewart W.C.
It was first in the D.W. Stewart book, which
Yeah.
is from like around the turn of the century or so.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. And for some reason he thought it was going to be like more purpley. I don't know why. Nobody knows why. But we had an image of that one too, right?
He's doing
Yeah.
a lot of drinking.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what people have been used to seeing for this tartan. And while it's a kind of a cool looking tartan, I mean, if you like bright stuff, it's kind of cool. It's not how those dyes looked back in the day.
Adam, do we still have the image of the jacket by itself, or the three pieces jacket? Yeah, bring that up next to this, and show them what the jacket looks like with the purple and gold version of the thing, to show how different it really is.
More different.
Exactly. The team's working on it right now, so we're just going to cut this part and then bring it back. There's no pressure at all. None. Just filling airtime. Audience is leaving. Please stay around. technical difficulties.
So, what are you doing after the show?
I'm going to a con tomorrow.
There
you go. There it is.
Yeah.
So
it's
the
hiding over there in the corner.
yeah, the
Side
jacket
right.
over here.
Doesn't wanna
That's
touch.
the original jacket from the actual museum. Lighting. The picture. Lighting
Yeah.
variances.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding, it's more green and blue, kind of like faded green blue. It's an old friggin' jacket. But this here, there we go. There. Is the D.W. Stewart version of the thing, which is just it's wrong. It's not right.
Yeah.
But through wanton usage, as they say, it's just been the option for for the last 20 years, whatever it's been. So people have been ordering this one, and there was an interesting comment or email or something we got after this came out. Oh, now it's centered. Sweet.
There we are.
There was an interesting comment that we got after the new, we released the project of doing a historical run. Was somebody said, well, I own the gold and purple one. Is that one now defunct? Is it not legitimate? Am I not supposed to wear it? No, it still
it's fine.
exists. It's still in the register. It's still a real tartan. It's just different than it would have been originally. So they're, basically the mill and Peter McDonald trying to go back and retroactively correct I won't say mistake, but like a misinterpretation by Stewart and saying, no, this is what it should actually look like. And they're trying to make something more historically accurate to the original. And,
Right.
The other one may end up being called like Culloden Purple and Gold or something versus Culloden Historical. But, it's both of them exist. Both of them are in the register. Both of them, people wear or will be wearing. There's both are fine.
It's basically science marches on.
Yeah.
Peter has access to modern databases and a vast knowledge of organic dyes, natural dyes, and how they worked, and that didn't exist back in the day.
Yep.
So best guesses were what you had. Now, Mac found something interesting. He was just saying that he apparently other people have done riffs on the Culloden tartan, like different color variants of the Culloden tartan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's been, looking on the registry, there's probably a half dozen, if not more, of just like Culloden, like blue, like red,
Culloden dress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've just kind of went.
Yeah. Fashion
Yeah,
variants.
here's a whole bunch of, and a lot of them are dance, veered that
Well,
direction.
okay,
too.
yeah, there
yep,
you go.
yep.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
there's a few out there.
That was my joke. It's the rainbow Culloden. Someday we'll find it.
No.
You don't want me to sing?
No. Please don't say.
I won't sing.
All right. But hope that helps. So, Mr. Mac, is there anyone out there?
Mr. Mac.
There are a few. So I got some questions for Grand Canyon that I'll save for a little bit later.
Okay. I agree.
So that way we can kind of put them all together.
Okay.
But we have Cameron asking, what do we recommend on how to clean a kilt?
How to clean a kilt.
How to clean a kilt.
Okay.
Fire.
Burn them and just buy new ones
Yep.
from usakilts.com. Now so if it's a polyviscose kilt, I will only speak to our models.
Right.
I don't want to speak to woolen wool or acrylic or anything like that. Speak to your manufacturer. For one of ours, if it is a polyviscose kilt, they are machine wash, cold water, lay flat to dry, and cool iron on the lowest steam setting. For wool, you can do dry cleaning for your kilt. I would say vet the dry cleaner. Make sure they're a good dry cleaner. Make sure they don't have a whole lot of low Google ratings or Trustpilot ratings.
You'd said make sure they work on site, not sending it away, right?
Yep, that was going to be my next point.
Sorry.
Absolutely, no, that's fine. The some dry cleaners are just essentially just laundry receptacles where they will take in the laundry and then throw it all in a truck and take it to a big wash plant and then bring it back. You want to be actually, when at all possible, you want to speak to the dry cleaner, speak to the person who's actually going to be cleaning the clothes, not someone who's just going to be subbing it out to another massive plant, so to speak. Make sure they've done skirts before. Ask them how they do pleating. If you're concerned that they might screw it up, tell them just dry clean it. Do not press it. That way, there are plenty of horror stories of dry cleaners that go to press somebody's kilt, and then they don't follow the line on the pattern dead straight down, and you end up with angled pleats on every single pleat. It just looks wonky, and they call it permanent press for a reason. It's not easy to get out if they press it on an angle. So yeah, those would be my tips for dry cleaning a kilt. You can wet wash a kilt. It's a little bit more difficult. You have to know what you're doing. You have to trust yourself. I think we've done a couple videos on how to wet wash a kilt, or at least verbal instructions on how to do the thing, either in a bathtub or in a washing machine by, manually putting it through, not just throwing it in, closing the door, and, giving your cross and saying, okay, I hope it works. So yeah, there's videos out there on that, but dry cleaning is probably preferable for a wool kilt. Any thoughts from you, Eric?
Nope.
No thoughts at all. An
No.
empty vessel. I actually hear wind, as if going
That's a
through the
Zen
Grand
thing,
Canyon.
to,
Yes,
to be an empty vessel.
indeed. Yes.
No, I mean, you said. I think. I mean, the watch the other videos. We are planning on doing a series of kilt care, Highland dress care videos, which are a little more detailed. But essentially, it's gentle hand washing in a tub or a big bin with something like Woolite. Just gentle, easygoing.
Yep.
Yep.
Indeed. Cool. All right, Mr. Eric. Pretty please.
Oh my gosh. This is going to take me a while to read. Hang on. All right. 47 years ago. Noah Barnang said, you've mentioned before that a lot of kiltwear trends are driven by either pipe bands or the kilt hire industry, and that traditional outfits were influenced by sharp, spit and polish military uniforms. Okay. Meanwhile, we have members on the Kilts and Culture Facebook group who are showing very expressive personal styles. So, why are there not any companies really trying new things? What would it take for Highland wear to move beyond the old rules?
I would say I reject the premise of your question, good sir. I think there are plenty of companies or artisans trying new things and playing around with it. I don't think they're all that successful, but there are plenty of people playing around with tradition and in the fashiony kind of way, in the same way like fashionistas play around with tartan. The easy, quick example that came to my mind was utility kilts. They started. That's not a traditional kilt at all. It's a bastard child of jeans and a kilt. So I'd say utility kilts or utility kilts. Utility kilt being the originator, are 100% an innovation and taking it a different direction. Pockets in kilts, tartan insets in utility style kilts. Not that I like all these things, but including this
Tartan
next
on
one.
the bias.
Tartan on the bias, yeah, there's that one. There's Verilas does that half kilt thing. It's kind of
I don't know if they even sell that anymore.
it exists. It's a company doing a thing. So I'm including it in this. I would say people, companies do play around with stuff. Like I've seen people playing around with shapes and materials for sporins. Not always doing the exact same sideways D shape. What else can you think of as far as company-wise? People playing around with stuff, and we can bring Mac in for this as well.
Before you come over. I think that the thing is that you have to think about new ideas coming from other aspects of Highland wear, not just kilts themselves specifically. I mean, kilts are in some ways so simple, you're not gonna do a lot to change them up. I mean, the things with the pockets and the tartan insets or mixing tartans, I've seen that too. People try this kind of stuff on a regular basis, but I think the changes that are going to stick tend to be more with the rest of the outfit. It's either sporing styles, it's jacket styles. We've seen just in the history that we've studied. There's been changes to the jackets over the years. I mean, they seem traditional from our perspective now, but there were times when they were new also. Yeah, I think that's really where it's at. Is basically it's the accessories more than the kilt itself. The I'd say there are some more avant-garde tartans. You know, like we've seen some examples of that, like at the V&A Dundee exhibit, showed a lot of work by artists who are using tartan as an expression of a modern art form, either building it into things or making brand new tartans, which are not symmetrical sometimes, or the set size is really huge, or it's something different like that. Like the most recent Scottish Commonwealth Games tartan had a huge set size. It's very contemporary. So it is still a nod to the tradition, but it is definitely something new. My opinion is basically there are fashion trends all the time. It's a question of if it's a good idea, will it stick? Will companies pick it up? They're commercial entities. Sometimes they're very innovative, but most companies, the larger the company it is, the more likely is they're going to make sure that they have their source of income coming in, their revenue source, and they're not going to mess with it. If they sense a sea change in the culture out there, like enough DIYers or small companies start doing something really radical, like a kilt that's short on your left hip and long on your right hip, like a asymmetrical hemline, and suddenly thousands or millions of people are wearing that style and it's like the thing, then they'll start carrying it on the regular. But it's a very slow process for companies to innovate like that, because the larger they are, the more cautious they need to be. It's just how it works. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
I mean, they should have an R&D division. But
I kind of agree and I disagree. The larger they are, sometimes the more innovative they are, or the more forward-thinking they are, and they have the financial wherewithal or the financial ability to just say, hey, we're going to try something different just to try it and see what happens. Let's throw this against the wall and see if it sticks. So in that case, they can do a little bit more, whereas the smaller guy may not want to take a risk on something, depending on how much money will go into creating the thing. Doing a tartan, here's my point. Doing like the front apron on the bias on a kilt costs really nothing. It's maybe an extra half yard of cloth. So any kilt maker could do that if they wanted to do that. It wouldn't matter. There's no cost barrier. Coming up with a new kilt pin, you're looking at a couple $100 to $1,000 to develop the metalwork to get into doing the thing. So it depends on what the thing is. Or a new cut for a jacket could take more money to develop the pattern and come up with samples and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
So there are extremes within innovation. There's different ends of the spectrum within innovation. Mac,
Noah's in the chat here. So,
nice.
So Noah said he should clarify that he thinks the kilt is fine. He was indeed thinking about accessories, jackets, etc., being very military inspired, and not really moving away from that is where his focus seems to be.
I'd say the military influence is actually very minimal these days. I mean, there's more jacket styles that are have less of the little bits and bobs which were picked up from the military, like the cuffs and the epaulettes and stuff. But even with that, and I'm not trying to be contrarian, Noah, I would still disagree with that. There's still contemporary jackets and vests. We have on our website, we have a jacket and vest that is a more contemporary cut, but cut shorter, so it's for a kilt. There are companies in Scotland who rent contemporary jackets and vests. We don't carry them as stock ourselves because we don't sell that many of them. We sell Argyles out the wazoo. We sell Prince Charlie's out the wazoo. We sell off the peg tweed jackets and vests all the time. The number of contemporary jacket and vests we sell versus a normal Argyle, I'll put those two side by side, is probably 25 to 1, 20 to 1. So it's what the people are asking for versus innovating and things like that. That's why I was part of what I was trying to say earlier. Is I think that you have to have a sea change of demand for companies who want to take it on. I don't completely agree with you about the large companies making room to innovate. I still think they tend to innovate in a very pedestrian way. They just try to push the envelope a little bit, just to add a little bit of something to make a product that looks a bit different from the competition, as opposed to something radically different. When was the last time you saw somebody wearing a Nehru collar jacket with a kilt? There's that double-breasted thing that that one we hate is like it's like double breasted and it's got the huge wide lapels, and we both hate it because it looks like a waiter's jacket.
It's. I would say it depends on your definition of large company as well. If you're talking large company in the kilt space, there aren't like real like Fortune 500 kind of companies. No, they probably tap out at like 60 employees maybe for like a McCall's or a McGraw-Hill, something like with chain locations. So those kind of stores, they would still try something different, but again, it's not a large company. Like it's not Sears, or it's not a huge fashion house or something like that.
But I'm biased too, because I look at the stuff that we've come up with and you've come up with specifically over the years, and you take it to somebody in Scotland to discuss or to develop, and they're like, really? You want to do that? And it turns out it sells, it works. They didn't do that. You did, and you're a smaller company.
Don't tell them.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think new ideas and really good ideas necessarily come down the mainstream. They always come in from the edges.
Yeah. That's fair.
So.
Yeah, but yes, there are companies who are playing around with and doing new things. Size aside, whether it's small artisans or whether it's big companies doing things. Sure. And there's also, we're not even really incorporating like fashionista type companies into this discussion. If you're including fashion companies and tartan in general, then yeah, there's a lot of people playing with it within the fashion. As far as in the kilt niche, no, there's not quite as much, but there are some companies that are playing around with stuff. I mean, we're trying to do different things with sporins and with we have our two-tone kilt hose. That's not crazy innovative. It's like, hey, I'd like the cuff to be different than the leg. Amazing, but it's not been done before, really. Different kilt pins or different sporins or different patterns, doing gradients within the tartans and things like that. So there are companies playing around with it. It's not a hard left-hand turn 90 degrees, but maybe it's 25 degrees off of top dead center.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a question whether it stays a fad or if it's popular enough that it lasts, it sticks.
It's that's ultimately where it is. I agree with you on
forces.
that. It's the market forces. It's how many people are saying this thing is cool. I'm buying it. I'm buying it. I'm buying it. And when you have that, then you have imitators. Utility-Kilts was first, and then you had Amerikilts and all these other companies who started doing. Oh, hey, Carhartt kilt with pockets. Sign me up. And then once those started globbing on, then it was Pakistan saying, ooh, we can make this for 1/50th of the price. We're going to sell these for $20 into stores in the States. We're going to make all these salad color kilts. So it's kind of had that knock on, and I would say those utility kilts is something it's been around for 20 years, 25 years now.
Yeah.
So has that stood the test of time? Is that a new standard?
It has.
Is that a new thing?
I would argue it's not really part of Highland wear.
Agreed, but
it's Highland wear adjacent.
It's an offshoot.
It is an offshoot.
It has a common ancestor, so to speak. So, yeah, and the line is blurred more now than ever with tartan insets in the pleats and tartan utility kilts.
Yep.
So it's kind of it's all a grayscale. So yes, there is innovation. It may not be the innovation you want. It may not be good. It may not stick around. It may be in a niche. But there are things being done within the industry and people playing around with things. So that's my take on it.
I want a samurai battle vest to wear with my kilt. I want to have. I can't remember the name. Somebody out there who remembers your samurai Japanese stuff. It's like the sleeveless vest that you'd wear with the kasode and the hakama. You'd have your crest on the back, your mon. So I want to have my clan crest on the back embroidered, and I want this big, elbow points, shoulder points out to here, and just like that, like a chieftain's vest, only more Asiatic and stripped down. Ooh, with a satin collar, it goes all the way down. Yeah.
None of that for me, thanks.
Just you wait. Just you wait.
It's going to be a trend. I can feel it. Smell that?
Yep. I'm gonna hang my shingle out right now. I'm gonna go get a loan and next big thing.
Good luck to you. All right, Mr. Mac.
I will bury you.
All right, so we have Andrew. First, he says, "Greetings from South Africa. Question regarding sporing hangers. What's the advantages, if any? I just feel they weigh down the belt. What am I missing?" He also continued with, "It seems like a formal kilt outfit would benefit even more than a formal outfit with trousers from removing the tails entirely." So he's talking about a jacket up further. So
A Prince Charlie jacket
yeah,
vest. Yeah. We'll stick to the sporing hanger
stick
question.
to the sporing one. Yeah, I'll get you all the details. The other one later.
Sure. Sporing hangers or sporing suspenders, as some companies call them. It's basically the if you think of the old biker wallets with the little leather fob and the chain that goes over your belt and snaps. It's the same thing, but it goes over a kilt belt, and you can hang your sporing from it. So we call them sporing hangers. Again, some people call them sporing suspenders. The reason to do it is a good reason to do it is if you are a really, really big guy, because your sporing chain kind of underlines the belly. And when you have your sporing on, especially if your belly comes out in front and then the front apron or the kilt or your thighs are back from it, when you wear your sporing, it kind of underlines the belly and it doesn't really look great. So the sporing suspenders hang the sporing from your belt and negating the need for the sporing chain. Now, the issue with sporing hangers is that they're hanging the entire weight of the sporing from the belt. So if you are the type of guy who needs to leave the house with your janitorial size ring of keys, as well as all of the change you've collected since 1927, as well as a big heavy wallet, as well as your phone, as well as X, Y, and Z, and your sporing weighs 50 freaking pounds, then yes, a sporing chain or a sporing suspenders the weight of your sporing are going to pull down the front of your belt. So what I generally suggest is for guys wearing who want to wear a sporing with sporing hangers is travel light, minimalist. So maybe your car key and your house key on it, maybe your phone, or in the pocket of a vest, and as little as you can put in there as possible, because you don't want to weigh the sporing down, because it's going to pull the belt and going to pull the buckle down on, and it's going to look worse than wearing a sporing chain with a bit of a belly. Or if you're gonna still carry your keys in your wallet and your change from 1972 in your sporing, then you're gonna have to make sure that your belt is snug. You're gonna want to make sure that your whatever you normally put your belt on, maybe adjust the inside to an extra inch and a half less, so that when you put it on, it's really, really snug, so that the weight of the sporing doesn't slip it down in the front. That would be my thoughts on the thing. Eric.
That's basically it. I don't really care for the look, but it is definitely a boon to people who have, certain body shapes. So there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. I don't really have anything else to add. It's just
The only other negative I will say for sporing hangers is if you are a guy, again, with a big belly that sticks out in the front and then it comes back in, when you wear your sporing with the sporing hangers, what tends to happen is it doesn't sit flat. It kind of tucks under like that because it kind of follows the curve of your body. So if you don't like the sporing hangers, there's one trick that I've kind of taken to that works a treat, is take on the side of your kilt, take your sporing strap or your sporing suspenders and hook it up over. Oh, look at that. Good shot, Adam.
Wow, nice, Adam.
Hook it up over the top of your top buckle on the side of your kilt. So normally it just kind of hangs down below your kilt buckle, but if you hang it up top, it hangs more straight down in the front. It's a higher higher point that it's being suspended from on the sides of your body and comes down quickly versus underlining the entire belly. So it's another little trick you can use and hopefully, get you through and have you looking a little more proper. Cool.
Yep.
Hope that helps. All right, Eric.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
indeed. Quite.
Hey, it's Brian from Milwaukee.
What's up, Brian?
Welcome
from
to the show, Brian. What is the proper etiquette or procedure for obtaining permission to have a restricted tartan woven? Specifically, I am hoping to get the Talisker Distillery tartan.
Talisker Distillery tartan.
Talisker Distillery. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to pour myself another whiskey from my backup whiskey. All right. So, you're trying to get a restricted tartan woven. What do you do? I have a life hack for you. This one works a treat. I'm going to keep using that phrase today. This one works a treat for, frankly, most companies, not just when you're trying to get a restricted tartan woven. Do not email the company. If you're having a problem with an order, or you're having a problem with a company, or you want to ask a question, don't email the company. Go to their Facebook page. Send them, or their Instagram page. Send them a direct message on Instagram or Facebook. The reason being, the vast majority of companies, when you email their customer service department, there's layers to customer service. There's the rep, and there's the team lead, then there's the supervisor, and then there's the department VP, and maybe, like getting a restricted tartan, none of them have any idea what you're talking about. They have no idea how to get the correct permission, or it's going to take too long, or they don't know who to forward your email to. If you if you DM their Facebook page or their Instagram page, chances are you're talking to their marketing team. So if you have a problem, or if you have a question that you want to get something internally in the company, go to their marketing team, because they are going to make sure that problem goes away, or you get the answer you need, because they're not used to doing customer service. They're used to doing marketing stuff. So if you have a complaint about a product that you purchased, and you're like, look, I really have a problem with this thing, they just want the problem to go away. They're not used to people yelling at them or being upset. So go to their DMs and get to them that way. Now, to get a restricted tartan woven, I would essentially do the same thing. I would go to their Facebook or their Instagram, DM them, say, hey, I love your brand. I really talk about Talisker all the time. Frankly, I love it so much that you actually have a tartan. Here's a link to the tartan you registered on the Scottish Tartan Registry. I just want permission to have it woven. I'm not asking for anything from you. I'm not a commercial entity. I'm not doing anything with it outside of making a kilt, which will enhance my ability to be an unpaid brand ambassador for Talisker, telling everyone how wonderful this is. And when anyone asks me about my kilt, I'm going to be telling them, oh, this is the Talisker tartan. They allowed me to have this woven, and because I love the whiskey so much, you should really try Talisker. You're an unpaid mouthpiece for the company. What company wouldn't want that? Like, if you're just an Uber fan, hell yeah, sign. Like, dude, sure, not a problem. Any of your friends want it? Like, and so that is the way I would go with getting the Talisker tartan specifically, the permission to have that one woven. Eric, any thoughts? Any other life hacks while we're at it?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. My manager says we're not allowed to grant permission like that. I'm a little
don't
more,
know who to ask.
Yeah, I'm a little more cynical about it. I don't doubt the efficacy of your technique in general. I think it's a good idea. But you're talking about copyrighted material. I don't think they trust people enough to grant permission like that, because all they have is your word to go by in this. So it's going to depend on the company. It's going to be a very idiosyncratic decision. I would suspect that most managers and anybody who has purse strings is going to say, no, that's a copyrighted asset, and we are not allowing anyone to get permission to weave it, because we don't know what will happen. We can't predict it. It would be out of our control. So no.
There's that.
Thank you for your interest. Here, have a coupon to buy some whiskey. That's what I think is going to happen.
I'd say there is definitely that. I have seen plenty of times where copyrighted stuff has gone through, and I've seen times when it hasn't. So I don't think you're wrong. I think it depends on the individual you get to speak to, how empathetic they are, how enthusiastic you are.
And how much power they have.
Yes, that too. But I have seen several of them where we've actually had things woven for customers who have done that type of thing before.
Okay.
So it has, it's not 100% foolproof, but you have a much better shot of having it work going that route than just emailing the company in general. So, Mac.
We do have Colton and Noah on two different ends of the spectrum. Well, they're on the same spectrum bit here. But Colton is a marketer, and he's like, I really hate Rocky's advice. And he would send it to customer service, and Noah, who is in customer service, said, I'd rather take that question and deal with it. So we are seeing their little banter back and forth.
I was going to say play it safe and do both. You can try DMing them, and you can try writing. But...
Or just emailing and saying who do I have to speak to in order to get permission. What I have done, the things that have worked when it's worked for customers is it's literally like, look, I'm not a commercial entity. I'm not trying to make money off this. I'm not doing anything crazy with it. I just want to be able to do one just for myself. So and the register, tartan register, and or the mills would release it if they have permission. So the permission can be, we, Talisker, are giving person X permission to weave enough fabric for one kilt and only one kilt for himself for personal usage. So you could do something like that and just put as a commercial entity and put very strict guidelines on it to kind of help, or offer as the person who wants to have it done, offer that, like, look, I'm willing to stipulate that it's only for me, it's only for one thing, and no one else is allowed to do it. I just want permission because I don't want to, tick anybody off or get in trouble. So, again, your mileage may vary depending on who you ask and how you ask.
And they make you sign in blood and...
Indeed. Sign over your firstborn son. Yeah.
I think you should get a tattoo first. Just get a job stopper tattoo right across your neck that says Talisker.
Yes.
And then send a picture and it's like, I'm your #1 fan. And then
while holding weapons to threaten them.
Right. No, you should get the tartan tattooed on your arms like sleeves, and then say, I already got it inked. Come on, man. Do me a solid.
Indeed. Quite. All right. Was that Mac or was that you?
That was me.
That was you. Mac.
Waldo is also asking Rocky, did that advice work with Lefroy?
It didn't work with me with Lefroy. No, it didn't. I emailed them. I emailed the mill that actually wove the tartan for them, and they basically, they poo-pooed it. It really depends on the individual. So sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. I wish it did. I'd have a Lefroy tartan.
I think it depends on how with it their customer service people are too, because I've been trying to get in touch with Pendleton Woolen Mills about something, and I've tried DMing them on the socials, and I get an automated response saying, thank you for your interest. And nothing. Nobody ever gets back to me.
Yeah, I guess it depends on that too. Companies, if you have a business account on Facebook or IG, you can set up an automated reply. And if you don't want to field any DMs at all on your social media, then you just set up the auto reply. Thanks, we don't care. Email our customer service. Here's the email address. Right. So there's that too. So
there's nothing to lose, so you might as well give it a shot.
Exactly. It doesn't hurt. Try both. You're right. Good luck. All right, Mac.
Alrighty. So I've got a question here from the Kilt Beard Company. And funny enough, that's the product that I've started using from them. So
what the heck? Wait, the whole company?
Product placement.
Yeah, they.
How did they all got together and they're all crowded around one?
Kilt Beard Company. It's operated by a veteran, Joe McDonald. So it's pretty cool. They started off and they're doing some pretty things over there. So
and what do they sell?
Beard products. So definitely has taken the itch out of the beard and tamed it down, so it's pretty awesome. So,
nice.
All right,
and I'm not getting paid to say this, but
you're just wearing
awesome.
their hat.
We are pro Kilt. Mac bought their hat for the right.
I did.
We are pro Kilt and pro beard. So
yeah.
And I think, didn't you say he was a customer of ours?
I believe so. Yeah.
Awesome. So buy more.
So anyway,
Anyway, they're asking, what is the preferred approach to staying warm in the winter while wearing a kilt?
well, you have to have a big beard.
Yeah, and a kilt beard hat.
Tuck it in. Yeah.
Staying warm in the winter, it's really, the amount of yardage in the kilt. It's the weight of the wool of the kilt. It's what are you wearing up top. It's what are you wearing on your head. I know a lot of guys who have big bushy beards are also, follically challenged, such as myself. So it's really about just, think of it just like any other pair of pants or any other pair of shorts or any pair of shorts. How would you stay warm if you're wearing a pair of shorts in the winter? And then just, extrapolate and put a kilt in there.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's some guys, if it's extreme, I've seen guys use like cut off long johns or other layers like that underneath if they're really worried about it. But it's about maintaining your core temperature. Having a really good pair of heavy woolen kilt hose is nice because then you're basically, your legs are covered up, to almost the knee. And, the amount of exposed skin is not as much as you might think. But having an 8-yard wool kilt and then doing layers that take care of your core temp. So this is, like Irish sweaters, have a nice woolen jumper. That's great. It's fantastic. So.
Yeah, and I'll start. The only thing I would say that's, as I get older and more curmudgeonly and arthritic, the only problem that I would have in winter is I would probably wear a skull cap or wear a wool flat cap like I have on now. I'd wear either a sweatshirt or sweater or something like that. I'd wear a kilt, sporing, kilt hose up to the knee. The only thing, if I'm going to be outside, like let's say I'm at it's fall, early winter, and I'm outside at a fire pit at a friend's house, or I'm at a restaurant and I want to eat outside for some reason in the cold. The only things that would possibly bother me would be my knees.
Exactly.
Like, as long as you have nice wool hose on, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
And you have, my knees would be the only thing exposed. And as I am more arthritic in my age, that might be stiff, but suffer for your art. Yeah.
I say flip the cuff up. That's part of the
Oh yeah,
that's part of what the kilt hose are for. To flip that cuff up. It'll help protect the knees, especially walking through brush and even in the summertime. So
this from a gentleman who has actually done World War I reenactment kilted. So he's been in trenches in November, nice damp, yucky Pennsylvania cold November, and he seems to be fine.
Yeah, and I've read plenty of accounts where guys were doing that, especially in the colder months. That's part of the use of them.
Nice. So cool. Hope that helps. All right, Eric.
What? Oh. Okay. It's our favorite name. You ready?
I am.
Dun 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 dun. Remington Maxwell.
Ah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Good old Remington Maxwell, my favorite questioner.
Name's Maxwell. Remington Maxwell.
So badass. I wish my parents would have named me
Right?
Remington Maxwell. It's on my list.
With 2 X's, by the way. All right, so anyway. Hey, guys, big fan. Thank you.
As are we, Remington. As are we.
Mr. Maxwell, I'm curious as to what fashion accessory, kilt color, vest, jacket, or whatever have you ever worn at some time in the past and thought it looked great, but looking back now, you cringe. My fandom for Remington is starting to take a nosedive here, but
I've
I'm
never
game.
looked back
I'll
at any
answer
of
this.
my outfits and cringed and thought they were horrible.
Shit.
All right, we'll bring Mac in for this one as well. Mac, what outfit do you look at? Is there pictorial evidence or not? You're like, oh God, I want to just make that not exist.
I don't think there's any photo evidence of it, but I did have a Menzies black and white kilt that I used to wear a lot.
Okay.
And I did wear the old soccer socks with it because it was black cuffs or black legs with a white cuff. See, I was just before my time before we started doing them.
I see.
But that's like the only thing. Like I can't think of a full outfit.
Or any part of the outfit. That you
Yeah,
guys
I
have.
think I don't have a
I'm
full
getting
outfit.
caught in cords. I'm gonna be
Don't
cocooned in here in a
unplug the
minute.
camera. Rule number 1.
Yeah, But that's the only thing I could think of off the top of my head, like right off the bat.
You wore soccer socks.
I did.
Wow.
We all have a dark past.
I-
Eric.
I can't compete with that. That's just.
Any other?
I need a minute.
Okay.
It's okay. It's all right. I don't have to think about Mac and soccer pants. Actually, for mine, there is video evidence because we did a wedding video many years ago, and for some hell-spawned reason, I thought it'd be a good idea to do the video wearing a Highland shirt. Because I was trying to think of something casual that people sometimes buy and wear for weddings. Hey, it's a popular thing. And every time I see myself in that outfit now, I just want to vomit. Highland shirts are not my thing. I do not look good in them. If you like them, good on you. Rock it. But for me, this is like, ugh. So you will never get me into a Highland shirt ever, ever, ever again.
Okay. I got two. And there's pictorial evidence of both, and I wish there wasn't.
Do I have these pictures?
You have at least one. I don't know if you have the second one.
Interesting.
When we first started the company, we were interviewed by, I think it was the Pottstown Mercury, when we were over in Audubon. And there's pictorial. I went through a phase early, like in my mid-20s, of loving horizontal striped rugby shirts. And I wore one with a kilt. And there's a newspaper article of me wearing a horizontal striped rugby shirt with a kilt. That was like 2004. That was early on, and that shouldn't exist.
I've seen people in rugby shirts with kilts.
Yeah, but
regularly,
it's
but-
like all the horizontal stripe. It's not just like
Okay.
a single horizontal stripe, which maybe
like-
you can kind of get away
So
with.
thinner. Okay.
No. They're still fatter, but it's like multiple. It's like 7 or 8 stripes horizontal
Okay.
with kilt.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other one is there may or may not be pictures of me wearing white kilt hose, cream kilt hose.
Oh yeah, that I do
Early
have.
on. Yeah, I know you
Yeah, I
have
got
that.
that.
It's oof.
I got
I think
that.
they're still on the website actually. It's certain things.
I'm thinking of something that maybe you've forgotten about. But I don't know if you ever actually
Oh.
wore them,
Oh,
but I know it exists.
what's that?
The Liberty kilt.
Liberty. What Liberty kilt?
Your Liberty kilt.
The
freedom
Victory kilt?
The
Victory
Victory
kilt?
kilt. The
Victory kilt. Ah, yes.
I thought you were talking
yes.
about the pus kilt at first.
Yeah, well, that was
Plus kiltifer.
The pus kilt.
yeah.
What was that?
My first kilt, the camouflage kilt.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah,
yellow.
the yellow camouflage.
Yeah,
Oh,
I thought
that was good
I
stuff.
thought that was one of your prototype Victory kilts.
It was the prototype Victory kilt. Yeah,
It's somewhere in this building, I think.
maybe I think it's. I could put that in the safe. I don't trust you people.
Kristen, if you can hear me, please go into Rocky's office and rifle around till you find the yellow camouflage utility kilt.
I will destroy you. Doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. We've all done things we're not proud of. But you
listening
grow.
to Nickelback.
You learn and you grow. Exactly. You learn and you grow. So,
Oh man.
yeah. I think I there's actually probably more things that I'm like I hope that doesn't come to light either. Jesus.
I'm gonna be looking now.
I know. There's probably like a dozen things I don't want out there.
I know there's other things I've done which I'm just not. They aren't occurring to me now. But the Highlander is the one that's burned into my brain because anytime I see that footage pop up somewhere, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, but you have like different styles outside of this anyway. So you've
Yeah, I
always
like to
kind
play
of
around with
blended
stuff, yeah.
styles anyway.
I'm a clothes junkie.
So
I get
you're-
it, but that
like-
doesn't mean that I'm always good at it. I mean,
I
even
would
I have my failings.
understood. No, like the kilt that you have on here now. I would never do
Yeah,
this
boy.
and have a separate
Ta-da!
tartan fringe on a tartan kilt. Now neither of them are clan tartan, so I'm not gonna cry about that.
Oh, I'd never have done that.
But yeah, but it's like I would never do that. That would be one of those that I'd be like, oh God, why did I do that? But you do it, and it's you, and it's fine for you. So
And I will admit, I don't know if it goes great with this particular top. This is a kilt I originally wanted for like casual wear, gothy stuff. So
yeah,
for that, it was more of a uns kind of a modern vibe. But
yes.
would I do this again? Yes. Probably not these colors, but
Kristen said she can't find it amongst the mass of ska CDs and records in there.
Pick it up. Pick it up.
we haven't forced her to listen to enough ska yet.
I know. We need to include more ska in our show. Yes, indeed. Quite.
Okay,
All right. Was that you or Mac?
that was me.
That was you. Mac.
That was Remington
go.
Maxwell.
It is mid-show. So, as part of the America 250 collection, we have released tartan number 2, the Grand Canyon tartan. And when he is ready, he can roll the tape. Looking into the Grand Canyon is looking back in time. Water and wind began shaping this land millions of years before man walked the earth. Now, standing on the south rim as the sun rises, the canyon walls glow 100 shades of red, slowly changing as the sun climbs in the sky. It's a place of deep reflection and contradictions. The openness can make you feel alone, yet it gives you peace. You feel insignificant, yet at one with nature. There's a reason that the Grand Canyon is among the greatest wonders of the world. When you stand there with only the sound of the wind in your ears, you understand. You realize why this place is so spiritual to so many people. For those visiting the canyon, deep feelings of reverence and admiration transcend age, culture, and background. The canyon is primal, and it connects with us on a primal level, demanding our attention. It evokes a state of calm and reflection because there's no easy way to grasp the totality of this place, what it means and how it came to be. And in surrendering to the magic of the canyon, we have an opportunity to find ourselves, to renew ourselves. Our Grand Canyon tartan pays homage to the beauty and the emotional impact of this natural wonder. We chose colors that represent the radiant tones of the Grand Canyon at sunrise. Hues of red, rust, tan, and gold blended together illustrate the rock strata that form the canyon walls. The water of the Colorado River that shaped the canyon is expressed by a delicate line of turquoise. The vegetation of the canyonlands, like pinyon pine, juniper, and manzanita, are present in a small section of dusty green. The vast blue dome of the endless southwestern sky and the warm glow of the sun are present in azure, punctuated with a gold stripe. The allure of this vast, open, otherworldly place is the result of nature's power and the persistence of time. With this tartan, we celebrate the overwhelming sense of awe and tranquility and the splendor of the Grand Canyon. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let us know in the comments what you think of the Grand Canyon tartan. I have this one on today. It is.
Indeed, you do.
Yeah, it is a nice. I love the gradient thing that we've been doing with this with the last few different tartans.
This one really worked out. I was when I first saw it come out of the box, I was like, huh? I was like, oh, okay. And as I've been telling people, it almost changes with the light, like the canyon itself does. I mean, this tartan looks amazing at sunset. It's just, you did good.
Thank you.
Did good, man.
It's
I'm so proud.
It's one of those that even when we were designing it, I remember Ian saying like, "Ooh, this is outside the box for you, Rocky. Are you sure you want to do this?" And he's like, "People are either going to love this or hate it because it's bright, but it's not bright. It's subtle, but it's not subtle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one that I'm pleased that we did. And as part of the America 250 collection, I've been trying to kind of stretch the boundaries of what I've done before, what I will be doing, and just kind of play around with things in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we had some questions about
We did.
the thing we wanted to address as we were talking about it.
And just real quick, I want to say that I have personally been overwhelmed by the reception
Yes.
for this tartan. I'm real glad you guys like it. It's a lot of love out there for this one, so makes us feel good.
Yeah.
You're doing something right. So, a couple of questions. Yes, Jeff Plavier said, so you could get a Grand Canyon palette from Good Color Photos, but this feels like it was designed by people who have been there. maybe share your own Grand Canyon experiences.
Sure. I went to the Grand Canyon when I was mid-teen. I want to say like 14 to 16, that kind of age. So it made an impression on me, but not a spiritual necessarily. Like the colors really stood out to me. Well, I guess kind of a spiritual thing. Like all the Native American stuff that was all around the area. It was a really cool, different experience that I had not had before. It's a culture I had not experienced before. I'm just seeing the jewelry, seeing the blankets, seeing all kinds of different stuff and experiencing things at that age kind of made a bit of an impression. But in coming up with, in knowing that we wanted to do this design as like one of the final 13, Eric was obviously very, very, I wouldn't say insistent, but this one meant a lot to Eric, having spent so much time out there. So I bought a few books on it, watched a bunch of videos on it. I was trying to reignite that spark within myself from a design aspect, but I really leaned on Eric and saying like, okay, well, I want to make sure you're my guidelines. You're the rails on the road to make sure that we're on the right path with this. I want to kind of interpret your experience with it and what it means to you, and make sure that it's doing you proud in the way that we're doing it. So, Eric, what was your experiences with it?
Gorge. With the canyon or with the tartan? Well, with the canyon, it's not just the canyon for me. It's basically Red Rock country in general, because my grandfather actually settled in Sedona, Arizona back in the late 1950s. I myself have never lived there permanently, but my family has, and so I grew up with that environment always in the background. I've been to the canyon several times, different times a year. I've never hiked the trail the way some people do. I've gone down to like the first plateau. I've always made sure I got snapshots of like the warning: do not proceed without certain amount of water past this point. It's a great sign. The one thing I've never done at the canyon is the glass balcony bridge that they have now. That kind of freaks me out. I don't think I'd want to do that. But I have fond memories of going to the old watchtower on the South Rim, which was built like back in the 1930s. I have memories of just hanging out in the lobby of the El Tovar Hotel, which is another historic property, which is amazing, that's out there. I remember going there in the winter with my wife and our 2-year-old daughter, and the trail was covered with ice, and she kept wanting to run because she was a very enthusiastic toddler, and there were a couple of times where the trail is right by the edge. There's no freaking guardrails or anything like that, okay? If you slip off that, you will die.
Yep, you're
gone. And so we're like panicking, like, and she's screaming her head off because she doesn't want mommy to be holding her hand. She wants to go running, through the bushes and stuff. And it's like ice, smooth ice from all the people trampling down the snow and turning into this nice glossy slick. And we're just like, oh, we gotta get off this trail. We gotta get off this trail. We're gonna get off this trail right now. And so it's the agony and the ecstasy, I guess you say. But I have fond memories of walking, not barefoot, but barefoot shoes on trails in Sedona, getting the red dirt between my toes. I did a memorial service to my grandfather once at the top of a sandstone, mini mesa. I've climbed a bunch of rocks I probably shouldn't have. And gotten more than a few needles in my palms and things. So yeah, I mean, I tried to make sure that we were on point with the colors as I remember them, like from visual close-ups and stuff, which is why I was very insistent about like trying to get the green right for the junipine and the manzanita and stuff, and then there's a silveriness that you can't really do, but the green is very much that dark piney green. So yeah, I was definitely invested.
Yeah.
And
we wanted to play with gradient within it to show the striations on the walls and like how the light plays with it at sunset and sunrise and like all of it. Yep. So I think it's we wanted it to be a warm, inviting, bright, hopeful kind of feeling tartan without feeling obnoxious over the top. So I think we threaded the needle.
I think we did great.
Yeah.
I should ask my uncle though.
Yeah. Indeed.
I should ask my uncle what he thinks of it. My uncle is an archaeologist, and he once did a recreation ride of the Conquistador Espejo and his expedition, and he rode on period, as close to period breed horses as possible, period tack, period bridle, period rations, period clothing, period armor, the whole shebang. And this is in the 1970s, by the way. And he rode from the Mexico-New Mexico border up to as close to the canyon as he could get without pissing off the Navajo reservation authorities. He got written up in Smithsonian Magazine for that.
Nice.
So I come by my craziness for the desert, honestly.
What was the other question we had?
Yeah, right. Sorry, I'm just getting nostalgic
No,
here.
I know. I get it. I get it.
James Michael Coffin said, what's the process like when it comes to designing a new tartan such as Grand Canyon or any of the other tartans that you've designed at USA Kilts? So can you encapsulate your process for creating these things?
The my process is as as a tartan designer, and a tartan designer who works in marketing and wants to tell a good story. My process is kind of it's blended with the colors and the symbolism and the story all at the same time. If you told me design a tartan and then, okay, now what's the story of the tartan? They have to evolve at the same time, or else there's a disconnect between the finished product of the design and the finished product of the story of the design. So that's why when designing this one, I worked closely with Eric and, okay, I need to know, what are the things we want to hit in it? What are the symbolism that we want to include? How do we want to talk about it? When we did the E pluribus unum tartan, what are the things that the symbols? What are the points? What are the bullet points that we want to talk about later on? And then how do we include those? And then what are the colors that tell their story? And then what are the numbers that you do? And how do you incorporate the colors side by side or keep them separate? All these things kind of swirl around. It's definitely a boiling down process. So I almost start with the story that we want to tell, and then I figure out the bullet points of all the different aspects of the story. What are the important parts of the narrative? What things can we eliminate? What things do we need to have in there? And then what colors represent those things? So when I get to the color aspect of the journey, that's when I actually start designing. So I'll say, okay, how many colors do I want to have? What are the ones that really, really mean something here? I could start off with 10 and then boil it down to 7 or boil it down to 6. And okay, these are the ones I have to have. So I go to our tartan designer and I say, okay, boom, 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 boom. And I'll add in those colors, the 5 or 6 or 7 that I want to include for a particular design. And then I just kind of figure, okay, what are the main colors that I want this tartan to be? So for this one that I have on here, it was obviously red and blue, or the colors of the canyon and the colors of the sky. What percentage of your field of view when you're looking out is sky versus canyon? So it depends on where you're standing and what are the things you want to highlight. So you think about the percentages, how much balance you want to the tartan or imbalance you want to the tartan. So I kind of just load the colors in a little bit willy-nilly and then expand and contrast or expand and contract the colors based on how the balance that I want or the imbalance that I want. And then I kind of play around with, okay, well, I want to add more green. So add a bunch of greens and then pull them down and do, okay, well, I'm going to have a little, gradient section here, or I'm going to have less green and some really, really thin stripes. Or I want to add these two colors because they complement each other side by side. Add a bunch of them and just kind of play with the size of each individual stripe. And it just kind of, it takes on its own life, and you just kind of trust your gut and you kind of go from there. As you're designing a tartan, it is, or doing any art, and I'll expand, I'll not pat myself on the back, but I'll say this, I'll include this as art. Any art you do, you need to give it room to breathe. You need to give yourself room to reflect within it and see, okay, am I on the right path or not? Am I going the right direction? Do I need to change tack? and come back to it after a day or two. Somebody had asked us, hey, are you going to do another one of those tartan design videos like we did with Nordic Heritage, where it's literally like the whole process soup to nuts? That one worked out, but in a weird way, it shouldn't have worked out, where like we didn't give ourselves a lot of time to sit with it and feel if it was good or not, and let it evolve and come up with 2 or 3 or 4 different versions and kind of mesh them together or take them apart or whatever. It's difficult to just, in my estimation, you should not design a tartan all in one sitting. It should be, you come up with a design and see if you're on the right path. Maybe you come up with 2, maybe you come up with 3 separate ones, and then live with it for a few days and come back to it after you've had time to just forget about it and open them back up and be like, ooh, I like this, or I like this part of this, or no, I don't like this one at all. What was I thinking? And then just delete it. Although I never delete anything.
At what point do you usually go back and try to put in if there's numerical meaning for threads? Like we had very specific, we played with that with some of them, like with E Pluribus we did, with American Dream I think we did.
I would almost start with that towards the beginning.
Okay.
If it's a big number, like for EPU, we did 13 stripes for the 13 colonies. You can play with the width of the stripes. That doesn't matter either way. But we did want to have 72, or what was the number of signatures on this? Yes, signatures on Declaration of Independence. Was that 72? I forget the number that it was.
No, it wasn't that many.
Wasn't that many.
I'm a horrible American.
Yeah, I know. Whatever the number is.
I'm actually going to say this by looking it up.
We included that in the Navy section 52. That's what it was.
52?
Yeah, I'm relatively positive. Mac can confirm me. But we included that right out of the gates because we wanted to have that number in there. So it had to stay that. For firefighters.
56.
56.
56.
Shoot,
Okay.
I was close. This close. For firefighters, 343 being, in there for the 343 that died. So 72 was the law enforcement on 9/11. That's what I'm thinking. That's where I'm coming up with 72. So you can include those numbers, and it's important to keep those in the back of your brain, but not necessarily be wedded to it. So if you come up with a design and part of the symbolism doesn't work, so if 72 for law enforcement or 52 for EPU, E Pluribus Unum Tartan, didn't work, don't be wedded to the idea that you come up with a bad design to shoehorn in a particular thing.
Yeah.
At that point, if it's a bad design, it's a bad design. So you can try to incorporate as much symbolism as possible, but there's a point where it's like, if you can't get something into the design that you want, maybe you can live without it. For E Pluribus Unum, there was like 3 or 4 other concepts that we were like, we can include this for that aspect, or this thing for that aspect, and it became gilding the lily, as we say, or kind of trying to include too much, trying too hard.
Yeah.
And there's other things that, actually, in E Pluribus Unum, we wanted to. It actually started off its life as the Founding Fathers tartan. So I wanted a balance of colors to be the colonial army's uniform. So it was going to be tan and blue with highlights of white. So that was going to be the main balancing act, balancing points, balancing colors in the design. And I came up with 2 or 3 different designs, and I was just like, this is a bad design. I don't like it. It doesn't look good. The early feedback from people in the building or whatever, it was that it's like, it's nice. Let's see what you're going for. But it wasn't the, yes, that. It wasn't the, the eyes wide open. Yeah, I love it. Got to do it. Yes. So you have to let your gut kind of lead you. And when you get that feedback of, yeah, it's okay. I see what you're doing. You have to internalize that as, they don't like it. It's okay. Move on.
Right.
Take your ego out of the process and keep moving on. But that is how I design things. It's a very, very organic feedback, organic process. It's throwing a bunch of things in there and just kind of mixing it and seeing what happens and letting it evolve. And then you get that moment of goosebumps. For the Spark tartan, I was playing around with the design with my son because I had this idea of a light bulb, going off, that moment of inspiration, and we came up with the design in like literally 25 minutes. Not even a half hour, 25 minutes. We had the design 95% of the way done. And when we played around with it, we got to a point it was just like, stop. And I remember him like talking to me about stuff, and I'm like, nope, stop talking. Just look at this, let it sit. And I literally had goosebumps. And I'm like, yep, this is it. We're so close. This is it. And he was like, okay, maybe we could change this. And I'm like, nope, we're done. We're done changing things. This. And when you get that feeling, you have to trust your gut. You have to know as an artist, this is where you put the paintbrush down. This is where you walk away and say, it's finished. So, yep, you just have to trust it. That's kind of my long-winded artisanal process. Mac.
Along those lines from designing, we have Eddie, who is asking another part of the process.
Yeah.
He's like, how hard is it to get the mills to be exact with those oranges and reds?
Well, it depends. It's difficult and it's dead easy. It depends on your relationship with the mill. So if you're starting with a Pantone number, and if you have a corporation you're working with and their Pantone number is 867B7Z. Is their shade of orange. That may end up being custom dye. And it's not necessarily difficult, but it's going to add to the time, and you have to account for that. Now, what I've done to varying degrees of success with different mills is said, hey, I want to make every single tartan design process that I have with whatever mill, whether Martin Mills, Loch Carron, House of Edgar, whoever it is. I want to make it as pain-free as possible to save myself stomach ulcers over time. Give me all. Now, it's easier for me to do than for a random person off the street because I already have a relationship with the mills. But what I've begged and pleaded them for is give me all of your stock-supported yarn shades. Give me all of them. So I'm going to have 5 or 10 different shades of red. 7 different shades of orange, 5 different shades of yellow, 15 different shades of green, 26 different shades of whatever it is. And I have cards here with all the different stock supported yarn shades all lined up, rainbow kind of gradient effect on like 10 different cards of 20 shades on each card. And that really, really, really helps my process. And it ensures the price stays lower, and it shows me everything that they have available. Now, there's also an ability to call a bit of an audible for American Dream. We did that one in wool first, and then we went to Martin Mills and said, hey, we want to do this in PV. Here it is. Send me all your red shades that you have. So I have all their stocks, stock supported yarn shades in PV, which aren't that many. And it was one of those where I was like, 2 of the 3 are okay. The third one's off. 2 of the blue shades are okay, but I don't like the third one. And I just said, look, these are okay, but I need to see more shades. What else do you got? Give me more. It's not close enough. It's still a bit off. And then they said, okay, well, here's one that we did that we have some of. We can recreate it easily if you want. Here's another one that we can do and recreate. So they sent me like 10 other shades of red and blue. And I'm like, oh, great. This one. You nailed it. That's perfect. Great. Do that. Do this blue. And we were able to get it over the finish line in wool and PV. And for American Dream, they look freaking bang on. We really, really lucked out because we didn't have to have anything custom dyed to just to get it over the finish line. Mm-hmm. So every time we do any kind of design here in-house, I'm really, really, really trying to keep the cost down because I don't want to have to raise the price on any finished product. So I'm really trying to work within the custom shades at all freaking times. So we have as many of the stock-supported shades as possible, and we work generally within those kind of palettes. Does that answer his question, you think? Cool. Any other questions on?
I got some more on the Grand Canyon here, too.
Okay, go ahead.
Will it be available in PV since you're talking about PV?
Imagine
PV
people are fans of the Southwest wanting a cooler, lighter fabric.
Who knew? For all of the America 250 collection, it depends on how many orders we get for it. If there's not that many orders, regardless of whether people love it or hate it or say they love it, if it's not selling, then we may not do it in PV. Now, the tricky part with the Grand Canyon, if we do, cross that Rubicon, if we do get over that number where we think, okay, this could actually move itself, move in PV. The tricky part is going to be, does the mill stock support, or are the mill's shades close enough in PV to the wool shades from a different mill? So it's going to be rough in PV for the Grand Canyon, specifically because of the tans and yellows. They don't do a lot of tans and yellows in PV or browns. It's the reason why we couldn't do the Appalachian Folklore in PV. There's like 3 or 4 different shades of brown that Jillian put in there, and in PV there's like 1. Here's your brown in polyviscose, because the things that we are doing, and as creative as we're getting, it's not easily duplicatable. And when you're talking about having something custom dyed in PV, we're talking cost-wise an additional 2 or 3 pounds a meter to custom dye per color. So add that in. So let's say 3 pounds just on the high end. That's about $4 extra cost per color added onto the cost of the cloth. So, and if there's 3 shades, that's an extra $12 cost on top of whatever it normally costs. So it becomes a weird one where it's like, okay, are you willing to pay almost double for the Grand Canyon in polyviscose? And at that point, you're almost at the price of wool anyway. So it's not wanting to look like we're taking advantage of people just because it's a custom, or just because it's like our exclusive design. We want to make it. I want it to be reasonably priced. I don't want people to be like, they're ripping me off. I don't ever want that to enter people's minds. I would rather not do something than have something at a crazy price, because I don't want people to think that we're doing something untoward or just taking advantage of people, because we're not. We're trying to be as honest as we can with stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's that. Mac.
On the opposite side of that
more
spectrum,
than
are
one?
any of them going to be in 16 ounce? Any of the 250?
Maybe. I won't say no, I won't say yes. House of Edgar probably has the broadest yarn offerings of any of the mills by a reasonable long shot. We also, when we started this process, we went to Martin Mills and House of Edgar, excuse me, and essentially negotiated with them for a very, very, very rapid turnaround time, because with the rate that we are coming out with these designs, with the pre-orders, with not wanting to overlap too much, dominoes have to fall in a very particular order, and if they don't, it screws up a lot of different things. It screws up Mac in production. He's over there giving me the stink eye, like, yeah, don't you screw this up, buddy. So everything has to work perfectly like clockwork, and doing that across different mills is a problem. Getting stock supported yarn shades from a particular mill who's very large in Scotland, I'm not going to say the name, Loch Erin, has become a bit of a problem. We've asked them for their stock supported yarn shades for a long time, and I'm still waiting. I hope you're watching, Keith. But we have good relationships with all the different mills. House of Edgar does not have a good stock supported yarn offering in 16 ounce. They just don't, because they don't do a lot of the different tartans in 16 ounce. They just don't have it. That's why we haven't gone to Loch Erin for stuff. The other reason why we typically do more 13 ounce than 16 is when you do 16, it limits what you can do. It's difficult to do women's wear in 16 ounce. The sashes aren't quite as nice, in my opinion, in 16 ounce. So it limits the product offerings that we can have. And imagine if you have a tartan like this that is this bright, that women are saying, we love it just as much as the guys love it. The women over in production were like, yes, we love this one. This is great. Imagine if I said, okay, great. I'm happy we did the Grand Canyon. Let's do it in 16 ounce, so none of the women can get the stuff. Exactly. Insert, sad trombone here. So it's a tricky one. When we do, these custom runs, we really want as many people to have access to it as possible. Would I like more in 16 ounce? Sure, but it limits the number of products that we can do in it. I'm not saying no. We'll probably do at least one or two. We may even do one in tweed potentially, but the majority will probably be 13 ounce because the relationship with House of Edgar, the speed that we need to bring these things out, the crazy amount of color shades that they have stock supported, the fact that they have marled yarns that we can do stuff with. So there are definitely more factors than just weight at play here. I hope that helps. Mac.
All right, I got a couple quick ones here.
Sure.
Is the Grand Canyon tartan for a limited time only?
It depends on how much we sell. With all of the American 250,
Yeah.
if there's a huge amount of people that are begging for it and saying, I can't afford it right now, please keep it. Whenever we order something custom, we typically overorder in case there's a mistake, in case there's latecomers to a thing, and we pad the orders a little bit just to be safe. How much we pad it depends on how much we do the pre-sale for. So I can't commit or not commit to, will you keep this one in stock? Will this one be available forever? We're going to keep it. If we're going to keep it for a limited time, whatever we get, if we have 150 meters ordered, I'll order 200, 220, 250 just to have some extra, and then we'll eventually sell it off. If it keeps selling, sure, we'll keep going on it. If we can barely sell through the cloth in 3 years of holding it, no, we're not going to stock support it. We do have to pay the bills. And as much as we love being tartan collectors, I can't. They like getting paid. They don't volunteer as much as they should. No, but we have to make sure that it's commercially viable to be able to do stuff. There is a fine balance that we have to strike. So, hope that helps. Mac.
Do you have a pic of what the Pacific Northwest tartan might look like?
Oh, we absolutely have a pic of it. I've designed that one to actually have the fabric on order. It's going to be here. I have videos of being warped up from the other day. It is beautiful. I can't wait to see it in person. I have a picture of it.
You don't get to see it.
Nope, not till,
Neener.
not till November.
Are all 13 tartans already picked out? Has there been any changes?
There's one we might change the date, or two that we're going to reverse the dates on. Not saying which two, but I have to get designing on the second one on that one quickly. Yeah, tick tock. So there's one that I might flip the orders of, but they're all pretty much set except for maybe two. We have Pacific Northwest done and dusted. We have the Spark done and dusted. That one's on order. Yeah. So we're trying to stay ahead of the 8-ball. I cannot fall behind. He will kill me. As well as the rest of the marketing department.
Oh,
Mac
everybody in this room will kill you.
Fair. So it's
going to be like that scene in Full Metal Jacket. You're just going to be in your bed one night and we're going down.
Unfortunately, I am a procrastinator by nature, and I enjoy the pressure of, no, you have to have it done tomorrow. And that's when I work under pressure best. They won't let me do it.
So yeah, let's launch a 2.5-year-long project. That's a great idea.
Yeah. In fairness to my procrastinatorness, the project was launched pretty last minute for the 13.
Yes.
So it was one of those like, hey, we should do this. And let's do 13. Let's do every other month. And then we worked backwards to July 2026 and was just like, oh. if we're gonna do this, we got to do it like 2 weeks ago. We got to get on this.
Yeah.
So it was very. Nah, it's
It
never.
was a hell of
easy.
a spring this year.
Yeah. It's never easy. It's always fun.
It's insane.
Pressure cookers work for a reason. So yes. All right, Mac.
All right, so this is a little bit of a longer one here. Maddie said he saw the video on Insta about the pleating up the Grand Canyon tartan. Still don't really have an understanding for what the difference between pleating to the actual set and pleating to the reverse set. Even he saw the video where we talked about reverse pleating on YouTube. He's still having trouble understanding the difference. They still look very similar.
It's gonna be hard to verbalize.
Yes and no. Okay, I'm going to use I have my under apron. Okay, I'm going to pull this off to the side. I'm going to use myself as the example here. So, and I have under apron down, so I'm not flashing the camera. All right. So, when you have a set, you have the set is defined as essentially, from this teal stripe to the next teal stripe where it repeats. So, when you are pleating something to the stripe, you're taking one stripe and you're putting it next to that exact same stripe. So that's pleating to the stripe right there. Now, if this is going to be pleated to the set, the true set, you take this stripe and you cover up that same stripe. So now you're advancing on the pattern. When we talk about pleating to the reverse set, moving it back to the stripe here. When we talk about pleating to the reverse set, we're pleating to an element just to the left of the other stripe. So the depth of the pleat is more shallow. So here's the depth pleating to the reverse set. Here's the depth pleating to the stripe. And now I'm moving forward. Here's the depth pleating to the full set. So it's growing. So full set, stripe, and reverse set. So it gets shallower. So it's essentially, instead of moving forward on the pattern as you are pleating, you're moving backwards a little bit on the pattern. But this is the artistry of pleating a 5-yard wool kilt. You're still trying to make up a pattern and make it look good within the pattern. You're making a pattern within a pattern. So you're pleating it a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less in order to keep the balance of all things there. So you want to have the width of each pleat. You don't want it to be too wide, so you want to make it so that the pleat width is an inch. It still has a little bit of depth, so it's still a reasonable amount of depth, a reasonable amount of face on each pleat, and you're working within a shorter length of cloth, i.e. 5 yards versus an 8-yard kilt. So it's finding the balance, and that's where the artistry comes in. In an 8-yard kilt, that's easy. You have all the material in the world to play with. In a 5-yard kilt, you have less. So you have to kind of work within your smaller constraints, smaller boundaries to make it look good. And Max over there shaking his head, yes. So that's where it gets tricky within this. Does that make sense, Mac? Did I explain it well? Hopefully that helps in explaining it to you.
I mean, I'm not the wrong person to ask that.
Did that make sense to you as a non-kilt maker?
More or less.
Okay. It's a difficult
I want
thing
Adam
to
to do
explain.
3-dimensional animations showing the layers, like coming over.
Indeed. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So I only have one other question here about it. Somebody did ask about the collection with thread colors that Rocky had mentioned. How many of those are metallic? Will we get any metallic options in the future?
Spark with a metallic.
Yeah.
That would have been the one to do.
A
No.
little fiber optic in there, so at night it glows.
Damn.
It's not too late.
It is too late because I already ordered the cloth.
No.
No. On principle,
Yeah,
no, I
no.
won't do it. That would have been the right one to do it on. We'll make a Spark 2.0.
There we go.
There you go. All right. Enough debauchery. Eric.
Debauchery? Okay. What?
glowing tartan kilts would be debauchery. Yes,
Got
that's
it.
debauchery.
Okay. Ian Cardno says, as a Scottish person, I'm wondering, where do Americans see the difference between costume, traditional dress, and Ren Fair? Or are costume and Ren Fair the same? I don't know because we don't have them here in Scotland.
Okay.
So
So no Ren fairs in Scotland.
it's a logical question, then.
What is the line between costume and Ren fair and traditional wear?
I don't know.
The-
You
To me, it's not a hard line you cross over. It's definitely a gray area, a sliding scale. So you have on or some kind of circle color wheel patterny thing. I don't know. It's not cut and dry. So in one end you have traditional meaning like 1920s, 30s kind of look of kilt wear, Highland wear, what you think of when you think of Prince Charlie and formal wear kind of thing. And then you have historical garb, i.e. the Cadin Jacket, or you have great kilts and things like that. And then you have Ren Fair, fantastical, costumey. So it's kind of it all blends together. There's no hard line. It's not an easy answer to give. It's kind of what's the old line about pornography? I don't know it. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. So there's traditional Highland wear, and then there's some for formal wear and things like that. And then there's room for some personal expression within it. So you might do something or a thing or two that aren't quite traditional, but it still falls within that same spectrum. And then you move into historical wear, where you're actually trying to recreate like the Jacobite Rebellion or something like that. And then you might expand on it and do something a little fantastical, or like twist something, or have it more a more fantastical pattern for the jacket, not something that was historically accurate. And then I think where you kind of go into things as well, especially in America, or especially or the diaspora, you end up doing things that it's okay. Well, I have this kilt that I wear to Celtic festivals, or I wear to formal events, or I wear to the Ren Fair or whatever. And then you start thinking to yourself, I spent a lot of money on that. I'd love to be able to wear that for more than just this one thing. Or I want to, or separately, another thought, I'd love to be able to kind of twist my heritage into my daily life, or into this other thing that I'm excited about and I do as a hobby. Or you want to incorporate your tartan into things that tartan aren't normally in the same way that Alexander McQueen, Alexander is the designer, or Vivienne Westwood want to incorporate tartan into their fashion. It's that same mentality on a personal level. It's saying, I want to express my heritage with my fashion, or I want to incorporate tartan into my daily wear, or into my hobbies, or into this or that. And I want to have this blending of all the things that I care about and I enjoy, or I spent money on, so I might as well freaking get my money's worth out of it. Either one of those things. And it's very much a blending. So we don't see the same hard line of this is only for formal, or this is only for casual. It's kind of a blending of it all together because we want to. And we're not necessarily wanting to be constrained by the same rules of strictly Highland dress, or strictly Ren Fair, or historical dress, or whatever. Does that make sense? Eric, have I
What?
broken you?
Yes. More or less. I think you can put some pretty good guideline, rule of thumb kind of things on it, though. Like, if it's an outfit that you would wear down the pub, if it's an outfit you would wear to not a Celtic festival in the writ large sense, but specifically a Highland Games event, say. If it's something you would wear to visit your grandma, then that's contemporary dress or traditional. Okay, and most contemporary dress is going to give more of a nod to traditional. You're not going to mess around too much with some of the elements besides the kilt. If it's historically inspired, if it is if it's reenactment or living history stuff that's very obviously it's reenactment, living history stuff. I mean, you're trying to look like an 18th century person. So some people will wear that stuff, out in regular life sometimes just as a lark, but for the most part, it is totally context driven. You're going to wear that for that. Renaissance fairs are an American invention for sure. And they started off being very historically accurate, but they very quickly
Devolved.
morphed. I would frankly say devolved. I'm not saying I don't respect Ren fairs, I don't think they're fun, but they are some history and a lot of fantasy at this point. So, yeah, I think what you said about like taking your regular stuff and then souping it up with different accessories or stuff, or even makeup for that matter, to make it something for the Renaissance Fair, which is a fantasy party. That's kind of the spectrum you're on. That's how it works. Now, sometimes with accessories, they can definitely cross over. Like you can have a sporing that is very fantastical looking. You bought it at a fair and it's custom made and has this really intricate, say, tree man face pattern to the leather, and it's beautiful. And you may love it so much that you decide to wear it out on the daily, and you could. But, maybe you wear the great kilt at the Ren Fair, but you're wearing that fancy sporing with a regular kilt when you go down the pub. Mm-hmm. So we tend to mix it up based on the whole collection of our wardrobes. But yeah, I would say costume and Ren Fair are very often pretty much the same category in my mind. And that's mean costume in terms of like fancy dress, not costume as in the historical term. Costume used to be a term that referred to clothing in general. You can talk about historic costume and you're basically talking about historic fashion. But that's a nuance that people outside of the history or reenactment community don't necessarily get into. I don't know if I'm making sense at this point.
No,
But you know what I mean?
You
It's
are.
like, and like in other subcultures, like if I go to some kind of a pagan gathering, you'll see people who are basically in street clothes, but they have a kilt, but they've got all their pagan bling on because they want to represent, So they're wearing amber, or they're wearing the Thor's hammer and also the other things and all that kind of stuff. And it's expression within context. Like I always say, it's about context. So.
Yep. People are individuals. So people are going to do what people are going to do. When you go to downtown Edinburgh and you see the guys dressed as in Braveheart, trying to they're busking and they're wanting the money for taking pictures with them kind of thing. Would they wear that to other things? Maybe not. Who knows? But it's America. We tend to play with it a little bit more and just have fun with it, and wanting to incorporate it into daily life, or playing with our outfits more as individuals in the same way a fashion designer would do a thing. I'm kind of repeating myself, but yeah, we definitely put tradition in a box on a pedestal, whatever you want to call it, and then everything else, and then casual to historical to Ren Fair to costume, it's all kind of blended together. We still know what tradition is. Like we still have that knowledge. And then everything outside of that is just personal expression, kind of falls under that greater umbrella.
Yeah, I
so
don't
to
think I'd
speak.
call it a pedestal. I would call it a compass point. It's like if you imagine
Fair.
like a tower or a compass point. Let's say a tower in a vast plain, and traditional wear is this. That's your benchmark. You can always see it. Sometimes you're really close to it. Other times you're further away and you're just catching a little glimpse of it. Or it's casting a shadow. So it's basically, I think we're very much more scientific with traditional dress. It is the art form of dressing in a gentlemanly way. You tend to hyperfixate on certain details and you tend to be very precise. If you're doing a cosplay thing, then you're also being scientific. But if you're just putting together an outfit that's fun for a Ren Fair or a convention or something, you tend to be just kind of adding things on. It's very loosey-goosey, very just kind of, this feels right, or that's fun, or I've never worn that before. It's not nearly as precision-focused. You know what I mean?
It's precision-focused to fantastical details.
Sometimes I think it's just, a lot of time for a lot of people, it's more is more.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. There's a more is more aspect to that there isn't with traditional dress.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. If if wearing this thing is great, then adding this and adding that is great as well. It's even better. It's so much more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed when you were pointing at the camera doing your thing about cosplay, you did do your live long and prosper as you were doing it. It's the subconscious coming through, Eric. Indeed. All right. Hope that helps. Mac.
All right. Thomas is hoping you can help him, Rocky. It's going to Scotland in a couple weeks, so any suggestions on what...
Do I come back?
Yeah. On any suggestions on what distilleries to visit and what bottle to bring home?
Oh.
What distilleries to visit? I don't know. I've never visited a distillery in Scotland. If I went...
Which is very surprising.
I know. If I went to Isle of Skye, or no, not Isle of Skye, excuse me, Isla. Yeah, Isla. If I went to Isla, I would absolutely visit Lagavulin, as well as Lefroy, as well as Ardbeg, as well as a few of them down there. I wanted to visit Oban. I almost got there, but they were freaking closed by the time we got there. Thanks, Kelly. Not that I would ever blame my wife for making me miss Oban Distillery for the one time we got there in the last 20 years.
Wow.
I'm not bitter at all.
Don't hold back.
I would visit Oban. That's the one I would go to, period. Because they have a freaking 18-year-old that is delicious. Too expensive, but it's 18-year-old Scotch. Scotch. It's legal for 18, but Scotch. 18-year-old Scotch, it's legal in the U.S. for Scotches.
Edit that out.
I would probably visit Oban. That's one of my favorites. I would visit Highland Park. That's a great one as well. The Dalmore, another great one. I would probably try to visit. And if I was to take something back, I would go to one of those distilleries, one of my favorites, and say, okay, well, what do you have that is not available commercially in America?
Right.
That's what I would get. I may or may not mail it to myself, so I wouldn't have to worry about customs. When I went through the airport, you go to the duty-free shop and stuff. I was looking for things there that I've never seen before. So I bought a bottle for my father-in-law and a bottle for myself of something. I forget what it was at this point. But when I went in January, I bought 2 bottles of something I had never seen before and never had before, and that's what I brought back with myself. So I'm always looking for something new and different that sounds interesting, and I cross my fingers and I hope it tastes good.
May I?
Sure.
Kind of what he was saying. This is a bucket list thing for me, not something I've actually done. But I would highly recommend, depending on how you're planning your vacation, I would consider doing some or all of the Whiskey Trail. Okay? Link to our video about it here. Essentially, there are some distilleries in Scotland that you've never heard of. And there's some really beautiful places and beautiful experiences and amazing tasting experiences you can have at these various distilleries. And on the trail, which is basically a driving trail around the country, you can visit some of the big ones, and you can also visit some of these small, I almost want to say bespoke, artisanal distilleries as well. And don't limit yourself to one, essentially, is what I would say. I mean, see if you can work some portion of that into your vacation plan, because they've thought about this for a long time. There are a lot of people who go to Scotland specifically to do what I think you're hoping to do, and they've built it for you. So you can get a really good experience that way and try a variety of scotches, and you may find something you never realized existed. That would be my advice.
A, I hope that your wife enjoys whiskey as much as you do. B, download Uber or Lyft to your phone so you can get a cab on the way home from the distillery. There's a lot of really, really cool places to drink in Scotland, surprisingly. So if you are of that ilk, I would say definitely make sure you have Uber on your phone to be able to get back to your hotel safely.
There's one other piece of advice before you make any final decisions, if I may. Quick aside story. My friend Solomon and his wife went to Scotland many years ago. They took the train up from London, and they basically took the train, like the Northeast line, or London East, I forget which one, and they went basically to the end of the line. It's basically as far north as they could get by train. And they got off, they landed in this village, and they went to the pub one night, and they, he ordered some scotch and stuff, and he started, oh, well, this is interesting, blah 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 blah, and the barkeep was like, it was like a bed and breakfast, it's like an inn, and he's like, oh, so you actually like whiskey? He's like, yeah, and I guess the guy was a little surprised because it was an American. He said, yeah, I tend to look for this or this, and he's like, well, why don't you try this one? Yeah, well, that's kind of like this and this, and yeah, this, I noticed the peatiness in this. I was like, hang on. And he literally opens a door, and there's a secondary room with a wall of bottles. And because my friend said the right words and made it plain he wasn't an idiot, this guy decided to share some stuff from his collection with him. This is stuff that either the locals or only his select customers got to see. And he said he was in frickin' seventh heaven.
Why doesn't this happen to me?
You're not as charming as my friend Solomon.
Apparently. I'm not charming at all.
But my point being is, try going to a pub and trying some stuff first.
That's fair. Or asking the pub what
Yes.
what the local distillery has. And
Yep.
when I was in Stirling, we stayed at a place that was like in the shadow of Stirling Castle, and there was a distillery like right across the street. So try to find the local stuff and check that out too.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's Don't lock yourself in.
Yeah. All right, Eric, we'll ask
Oh,
one
time
more, and then we'll
flies.
do the question of the day.
Time flies.
It does.
Peter J. Hutchinson. Hello, Peter. If you were invited to meet King Charles III, I'd rather meet King Charles II. If you were invited to meet King Charles III, what tartan would you wear for the occasion and why? And he invites us to be as thoughtful or as cheeky with our answers as we wish.
Yes, I'm very cheeky.
Cheeky
Mac,
bastard.
we'll bring you in for this as well, Mac. If you're going to meet the king, what tartan... What tartan would you wear and why?
Either one I have or don't have, because in theory,
That narrows it down.
in theory, I can pick whatever I want in this mythical world.
Right.
Let's see.
You'd wear the Balmoral tartan and just have the like Nelson.
Oh!
No. What would you wear?
I'm getting arrested.
I don't know. I like maybe like Glen Affric kind of pops in my mind.
Okay.
Like kicking it old school.
Very old school. Got it.
Very
got
old
it.
school.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Fair. Eric.
That's a tough one. I mean, I think I have to say it'd be really hard for me not to want to wear Stuart because of my clan association. But as an American and as a person of mixed heritage, I'd probably do Nordic heritage, honestly.
Okay.
I'd probably do that. I'd probably try to represent that because all the reasons.
Yeah, and you helped design it.
I have
So, you are
pride in that
co-designer,
tartan for
yes.
a number of reasons.
Yes.
So, yeah, I
Okay.
think that'd be my choice, really. Sorry,
Okay.
Gramps.
My cheeky answer would be if I was feeling my ungrateful colonial roots, so to speak, I might do the E pluribus unum tartan, but I would probably not do that. If I'm gonna assume I'm actually meeting the king, and I would actually be respectful. I'm pretending that would happen. No, I would actually be respectful. I would probably wear. I would want to wear one that I designed. So I would.
Yeah.
I'd probably go with the American Dream. That would be the one that I would probably do. Because there's a lot of symbolism in there, and I'd still want to represent. And I'd still want to feel proud of the thing, and him being an actual nice guy from what I've seen and heard from those who have met him before. He would probably ask me about it, and there would be a cool story to explain it to the king himself, like what the American Dream, the symbolism that was imbued in the American Dream tartan. So, yeah,
Yeah. Those pretty simple answers, actually.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of what I would do if I was going to intentionally try to be cheeky, as I say. Something obnoxious like...
Culloden,
Yeah, you could do Culloden.
Culloden historical.
Could do
Yeah.
Culloden. I might do something Welsh. I might do like
Okay.
Pride of Wales.
Okay.
Something like that. To make a statement that way. But I don't know.
Culloden historical. Interesting.
Culloden
Now-
historical.
Would you dress in the Cadin Jacket in the Culloden tartan historical when you meet the king, or depending on the event, obviously, or like to be full?
Are we back to talking about the difference between costume and regular traditional dress?
Well, if we're being cheeky, would be
If I'm being cheeky, I'd go punk rock with it.
up
I
against
mean, if
the
I'm being
body
cheeky,
prints.
I'd do a real Mackenzie's kind of outfit.
That's
you
kind
know?
of where I was going
Yeah,
the other
I'd pull out
opposite
the
way with it.
leathers.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Maybe some Stuart Black.
Yep.
Okay. Fair.
Or
Fair.
maybe some Owen Glendower.
Fair.
Goth out.
Yes.
Yeah, like-
or the Bonnie Prince Charlie tartan.
I'd say
Prince
Mary
Charles
Queen of
Edward
Scots.
Stuart, yeah.
Oh,
Look at you! Look at you!
I like where your head's at.
Yes, indeed.
Still on your shoulders, unlike Mary Queen of Scots.
Exactly.
Fair. Fair. Okay. So going off of,
I know what you're trying to do, Rocky. So it's okay.
you screwed it all up.
You
Thanks,
asked
Eric.
me a question.
I know, and you could have freaking played into it. No.
No, I'm a nerd. What do you
Okay.
want? I'm
All
a
right.
nerd. Sorry about the
So-
mic. Anyway,
Yes, I'm going to blow out all the mics. It's fine. So speaking of, because I spoke of, the Culloden Jacket, the question of the day,
bloop.
would you wear an 18th century jacket? Just in general, not necessarily to meet the king, but in general. Is this something you would purchase? Would you want something that is historically accurate, like the Culloden Jacket, or would you get something a little fantastical, like Jamie Fraser a la Outlander? And would it be in the Culloden tartan? Not? Let me know. Tell me all the thoughts in the comments. Get down there, tippity tappity typity. Let me know. Very good. Thank you, boys and girls, for joining us. Until next time, Slàinte mhath.
Slàinte mhath.